Alrighty guys, we're back for Dragon Midrange, and this is a Foundation Standard Brew, and I'm Red Cat. Let's briefly go over the deck, then hop right into some ranked. We got all four. Carnelian Orb of Dragonkind. It's a 3-mana artifact. You can tap it to add a red mana. If that mana is spent on a dragon creature spell, it gains haste until end of turn. Really like this card, man. We got a lot of great dragons that we would not mind giving haste to. Dragonhawk baits Tempest. That's one because it has an ETB effect as well as an attack trigger too, where you exile the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 4 or greater. Even if that's just Dragonhawk, that's totally fine, right? Now you may play those cards until the your next end step, and at the beginning of your next end step, it deals 2 damage to each opponent for each of those cards that are still exiled. A pretty good ability, man, and every time we play with Dragonhawk, we are pleased. Some other great dragons we wouldn't mind giving haste to. Decadent Dragon here is just a 4-mana 4/4 flying trample. When it attacks, you create a treasure token. Cool. So you actually play this out with the Dragonkind orb and give it haste. You swing, you get that treasure token, and having that treasure token open is going to be pretty important, especially if you're keeping open some spot removal, or maybe you're just ramping into a bigger dragon next turn. So realistically, we're not looking at the adventure side. However, for the first Decadent Dragon, once you generate some treasures, you can eventually use those treasures on the expensive taste adventure side from other Decadent Dragons. But I guess that is noteworthy at the very least, right? So some of that early spot removal that I was talking about, Burst Lightning making the cut, because I think that this is the type of mid-range deck list that just really knows how to plug damage through. So opting for spot removal that also just hits the opponent's face. And of course, the kicker cost coming in handy in mid-range as well, where it's not going to be unheard of to actually just spend 5 mana to have this deal 4 damage to something, especially if you have something like Twinflame Tyrant on the board, huh? The 5 mana 3/5. Has flying. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage instead. Beautiful stuff, man. Making the cut as a 2-of, I think it'll do the thing. Might as well finish going over the rest of the top-end dragons. We have a Bonehoard Dracosaur making the cut as a 1-of. Then not too much card draw in here, so seeing more off the top with Dracosaur and Dragonhawk is probably going to be pretty darn important. Also have a couple Incinerator of the Guilty. Here's one we don't get to see too often. 6 mana, 6/6 flying trample. Honestly, guys, with the number of chump blockers, there's actually a lot of things that have reach too. I think having trample is going to be pretty important. Whenever Incinerator of the Guilty deals combat damage to a player, you may collect evidence X. When you do, Incinerator of the Guilty deals X damage to each creature and planeswalker that player controls. So kind of sort of a board wipe. Now, usually it has to survive the whole turn to actually utilize that, but giving this haste with the orb, I don't know, man, that seems pretty good. Giving any of our dragons haste, though, let's be real. We also have a Steel Hellkite here. Trying this out. It's a 6 mana 5/5 flyer, and for 2 mana, this creature gets a +1/+0 until end of turn. Okay. Now for X, you can destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X whose controller was dealt combat damage by this creature this turn. Activate only once each turn. So again, kind of sort of just a top-end board wipe at that point. Cool. Real quick, guys, 25 total mana. I think that's going to be enough. And a 1-of Cavern of Souls, where you're going to call Dragon, of course. And you're trying to get the dragons around counter spells at that point, too. So I did consider multiple Cavern of Souls, but I opted not to. Since I have Koth in here, there's going to be a lot of times where you actually want Koth to hit on 4, and then the -3 actually needs to hit for 4. But if you had multiple caverns, there's going to be moments where the -3 is only hitting for like 2, which is actually really bad. At that point, you'd probably just go +2 on the Koth, grab some basic mountains from the list. It's going to be important just to see consistent mana to play every single turn, especially when we have Dragonmaster Outcast here at the front of the build. It's a 1 mana 1/1. In the early game, you're just going to be chumping with this little 1/1, right? In the late game, however, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, you create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. So in other words, the opponent really needs to remove this in the late game, but you know what else they need to remove in that late game? Our dragons, bro. So yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be decent as a 2-of in here. I don't think we would want more of them, though. Have Invasion of Tarkir for more early removal, more ways to hit the opponent's face. We got a little bit of early ramp with the Irencrag. early board wipe with Slagstorm, opting this over Brotherhood's End because this can also hit players. Now it does deal 3 damage to you as well because it does say each player, but I think Slagstorm when like Twinflame Tyrant on the board sounds pretty cool. That everything already, guys. Nice. We got some honorable mentions. Dragon Lord's Servant could have been neat in here. We actually don't have like we called it Dragon Midrange, but we only have what, 13 dragons packed, and that's still a good chunk of dragons, let's be real. But yeah, honorable mention for a good reason. Thought about going Rakdos this time around with Rivas, but mono red, you know? Maybe next time we'll try out Rakdos or a different variation like Grixis. Terror of the Peaks, terrific top-end dragon to consider. We also had some other reprints that could have been pretty cool in here. This Laughless Dragon Queen feels a little weird not rocking the Dragon Queen in a dragon build, right? Tyrant of Kier Ridges is a pretty decent dragon. Then there's another reprint here too. The Dracoseth, Maw of Flames. That could have been neat, maybe as a one-of on the top end. And then Shivon Devastator. It feels kind of weird not having Devastator in here, but realistically, when we play Devastator, we're playing it because of the haste. This time around, we got the orb giving haste to our dragons, so yeah, I don't know if Devastator was going to do too much this time around. Oh, more ways to give haste, guys. Bitter Reunion also acting as some card filtration too, or card draft, that's what we want to call it. Okay. Hopefully that's everything. I do my dandies to save the more in-depth discussion for the end of the video, and sometimes I fail. Either way, let's go ahead and take this into some ranked and see how we do. Right into that first game. What am I expecting from the build, guys? I'm expecting a little bit. I think it's going to be good. We go first. We're going to keep this because we can trade out a mountain to the Bitter Reunion on turn 2. We have early board wipe, Koth for deck thinning or some removal if we need it. I like the hand, actually. Gnawing Vermin. Okay, Souls of the Lost and Terror Tide. Okay, wow. I'll keep the Cavern in hand a little while longer so they don't know what's on our top end quite yet. Ditch a Mountain, totally fine. Another Bitter Reunion. Okay. Again, we probably play Mountain, Bitter Reunion, ditch a Mountain. We'll still keep the Cavern around, especially since we are up against Sultai, guys. Squirming Emergence builds have been pretty rough recently, so Slagstorm could pick up the Gnawing Vermins, but we probably don't do that yet. I don't plan on discarding Cavern. I guess we can call Dragon. Gotta type it in if you haven't seen a dragon yet. Opt for filtering. And we have Burst Lightning open then. Okay, more mana. Only 25 land in here, guys, so. Alright, Burst Lightning open. And I'm scared. I'm terrified. Honest Rutstein. Okay. Creature spells they cast cost 1 less to cast. They get to return a card. A creature card from their grave to their hand. They're going to grab the Soul of the Lost. And the Souls of the Lost, I think next turn is Slagstorm. Power is equal to the number of permanents. Toughness is that number +1. Never mind. I'm not going to go Slagstorm for the turn. I'm going to wait a little while longer. I think Slagstorm can do a little bit more. More mountains. That's pretty bad. I think we'll go +2 on the Koth because that's going to be pretty hard for them to remove. And if they don't value removing the Koth, first of all, we're thinning the deck list, which is apparently pretty important right now. We already got rid of 2 mountains, so we've seen 10 land already. It's going to be Brood Spinner. Yeah, this Slagstorm should really come in handy. What's also awesome about this is it only hits creatures, so it's not going to hit our Planeswalker. They do end up swinging the 2 at the Koth. I'd love to see that Souls of the Lost Land. It's going to be a 5/6 though. Wow. Okay, that's actually a problem. So we have 4 mountains. We got 4 damage from the Koth's -3. We can get the Orb of Dragonkind down. Still have the Slagstorm. And I guess we'd want to do the -3 on Koth first before we put 3 more creatures into the grave, because that would be 9 then. I guess this is fine. To each creature. It's a 4 for 1, but we get to keep the Koth around. We get +2 for a few turns in a row. All this mana in hand feels terrible, guys. We definitely need to see some of our top-end dragons. All right, Urborg is on 9/10. Wow. Hey, Dragonhawk. All right. Don't have anything else to do with the Koth. We'll start with the +2. Thin out the deck list, so whatever we see on the Dragonhawk is a little bit better, right? We probably don't play mana from the Dragonhawk, too, because we'd rather just deal damage to the opponent's face at that point. We'll just play one of the mountains out of our hand. D1, Dragonhawk, okay. Swing. Mountain, okay. At least just a mountain we're not drawing, right? We're about to do 4 more damage. Anyone's game. Anyone's game. Actually, Stubborn Burrow Fiend. Oh, wow. I like the opponent's version of this Sultai. I think they finally take care of this Koth, right? No, they go face. Okay. We have a chance of winning this turn then. See what we draw on the top, especially if it's a dragon that we can play. It is a dragon we can play. Wow. Again, we start by, well, yeah, we start by thinning the deck just so we can see more off the Dragonhawk swing, right? We can successfully play that. Dracosaur give haste. Their last card could be a Bitter Triumph easily. Got the swing. Got the swing. C2 on the Dragonhawk. Ah, Harvester of Misery. That's not enough. That's not enough. Oh, that was cool though. But we still get 8 through. And then the last 2 from the Dragonhawk's ability. I see what they were doing there now. Because instead of seeing 2 off the top, we only saw 1 because the Dracosaur's power was 3. But luckily, we still had enough. Guys, we flooded, right? I'm pretty sure. We're having 25 mana. 1 in exile, 3 in hand, discarded 2 early on. And then we had 7 on the board. Okay. So 13 land in the top 23. However, we were grabbing land with the Koth's +2 as well. So cool. All right. Let's keep the ball rolling. I have nothing else to say about that one, right? If we saw less mana, I think maybe we would have been able to clean up the game a little bit sooner. But at the same time, if the opponent saw more top end or anything, right? Or some of their top end reanimation cards too. That being said, their version of Sultai, it didn't look too much like reanimation, but I can only imagine it still had Squirming Emergence and stuff. Sweet. I see nothing wrong with this hand. Got a turn 1. Hopefully we don't have to use the Slagstorm because I'm still going to play Outcast turn 1 anyways. Okay, Darkslick Shores. I'll go for the swing. See what happens. Yeah, poke 1 through. You never know. That 1 damage might really come in handy. Keep the 2 open. Counterspell on the Dragonkind would be terrible. I'll go for the swing. See what they do to this Outcast. It's a counterspell that'll be out of their hand, though, guys. We try it. We try it. It might not be a counterspell. It might be spot removal. But yeah, giving haste to the Tyrant, technically it's not even that great because they could still have instant speed spot removal. Against a mirror, there's like a lot of layers here. Note with Affliction, so the orb does in fact hit the board. So now, if it wasn't a counterspell that turn, it could be a counterspell for the Twinflame Tyrant anyways, and I can only imagine the opponent will pass it back here. So yeah, counterspells, spot removal. There's a lot of things that could really mess this up. So Invasion can come down. Twinflame Tyrant doesn't hit the Invasion very well. It doesn't double on the Invasion because we own the battle. And this says opponent or permanent and opponent controls, right? So I'll try the Tyrant. We'll go for it, man. This is one of those games, too, where the extra caverns can come in handy, but we're trying to find that balance between Koth and caverns. Tyrant lands. Let's see the spot removal then from the opponent. A Serum Snare. Not bad. That's not bad for us at all, guys. Serum Snare and Anoint tells us that this is a poison deck list. They get the poison ball rolling if they do not find an untapped source, which is great news. It's great news, guys. We can start pushing through here. We just don't have enough mana for the Invasion yet. We still just go Tyrant because it's a good swing. Get him down to 10. We can clean this up next turn if they don't have an answer for the Tyrant, guys. We really can. So we'll see what they end up doing. Right, with Tyrant on the board, Invasion of Tarkir will deal 4. They do have a Drown, Proliferate, so a second Drown is likely. That's not going to stop us, man. Any dragons off the top is going to be huge. Oh, it doesn't have to be a second Drown when they got a Whisper. 3 poison, 2 mana open still. Crap. Okay. More mana. Yee. Save the Invasion until we see a dragon. Or play the Invasion, get 2 through now while we have all this excess mana. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. We see a 6 mana dragon, we'd want to play it now. We saw a 5 mana dragon, we'd want to play it next turn. So I think we just cover our ground here. We play it now. Maybe we get a counterspell out of the opponent's hand or something too. We don't. The Invasion lands. We get him down to 8. And Slagstorm can hit for a little bit too. Man, that's a tough decision. Do we do it now? Again, it could get a counterspell out of the opponent's hand. Or we could clean up some of their poison creatures when they play it. I think we just play it now, guys. I think we do. While we have the open mana, that way, whatever we draw next turn can maybe push the rest through. But we'll see, we'll see. They did have an Experimental Augury open. Okay. 4 poison, anyone's game. With Mountain in hand, I think this is leaning towards the opponent. Ooh, buddy. Yeah, it's leaning towards the opponent. Oh, no. Oh, no. So many cards in the opponent's hand, guys. Well. 4th mana. Our 4th open mana. Mountain. Guys, we're flooding. And I don't think this is the type of deck list that wants 24 mana, first of all. I think this is the type of deck list that desperately wants to see mana every turn, regardless of our ramp. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe more testing required. A second orb is actually pretty bad too, guys. It's a very similar concept to just seeing more land here. Experimental Augury going up to 6 poison. I'm scared, guys. There's a lot we can draw into, but I think we're dead next turn, unfortunately, right? Being at 7 poison, they draw even more here. We've been seeing a lot of this Dimir poison in these last few weeks. A lot of people rocking it, and rocking it really well, too. It's been kicking our butt, honestly. Okay, lose 2 life. They go down to 1, but we're dead. We're dead this turn, right? They got 3 mana open. They're 2 poison away. I mean, there's no way, right? There's no way this isn't a counter spell. These deck lists don't have, well, we got 5 mana open even after the kicking cost, so we might as well go for the kicker. I'm pretty sure it's a counter spell, because otherwise they wouldn't go down to 1. It's a good draw, though. Bring the ending, yeah. Yeah. Up to 9, we'll drop them the GGs. Skull Dweller, that's not game. They pass it back. It's mana! No! For a second, I actually... Oh, okay. It was another thing anyways that they could have done on the stack. They just opted to do it on our turn for some reason, which is technically a little bit risky, right? Because if we were going to pass it back at the end and they dropped the prologue, then on the stack of the prologue, we could have played like a Burst Lightning if we saw it off the top. I don't know, guys. That was a lot of mana. So definitely need to consider 24, but right now more testing required, as that easily could have been a couple games of flooding. And another thing, we still don't want to forget that we were grabbing mountains with the Koth in that first game, so... when we are flooding, then seeing our early creature to start generating some of those 5/5 dragons, yeah. If we do drop a mana, then we'll probably go up another dragon somewhere. Okay, like here's a hand where no matter what, we need to see mana. However, I think this might actually just be a mulligan, right? Crap. Okay, we should mulligan. We should. All right, here we go. Actually a tough decision. Based on the first 2 games, we're going to send the mountains since we have Bitter Reunion to filter, find more land anyways. I think it's actually pretty good here then. Bolt Wave. All right, Boros Burn. Bring it on. Bring it on, Boros. Boros Burn looking really scary, though. I shouldn't say bring it on. Yep, so we're going to want to go right into Bitter Reunion. Keep this. Probably ditch the Koth this game, guys. I want to keep my top-end dragons, especially since we have Orb. Invasion could hit for 4 since we have these dragons, too. Koth can help us find more land. But first we need to... Maybe it's Incinerator? No, I'm going to ditch the Koth, and I hope that's an okay decision. Couple land off the top. Beautiful stuff, man. Get ready to play the Carnelian Orb of Dragonkind, but next turn we might be forced into removal with Invasion, depending on what they play here. Down to 14. 3rd mana. Screaming Nemesis. Holy cow, dude. Holy cow. What a couple turns for the opponent. Every turn successfully dealing 3 damage to us, and we are in so much danger now that Nemesis is on the board. We take 3. Could go for the removal. We'll take 4. No. We could reveal 1. We could deal... We take another 3 from removing the Nemesis. You know what? We're in so much danger. I'm just gonna not. I'm gonna opt out of the danger, and we're just gonna lean into it, I mean, to say. We'll have a hasty Dragonhawk. 4 damage. Invasion of Regatha in the opponent's deck list, guys. Wow. Holy cow. Down to 7, then down to 4. And I'll tell you what, we could go down to 1. Wait a minute. Oh, invasion. Yeah, pinging the Nemesis. We take another one. No more life gain. That's okay, opponent. We don't have any life gain. So Nemesis could swing. Bolt Wave could end the game. Let's see it, opponent. It is not a Bolt Wave. Okay, well. That is terrifying. So we do the fun thing, right? We do the fun thing. So I guess no matter what, we'd want to remove the Nemesis last turn, guys. We would have wanted to do that. This would have been over here still. We still would have taken a good chunk of damage. But now, Nemesis on the board. There's like literally nothing we can do about that, right? Alright, cool. Dragonmaster. Dealing extra pings to the opponent's face. If there was like some kind of... good game, opponent, by the way. I'm trying to think, like, what could we have seen to help us out? Like, the opponent just had 1, 2, 3. There's one heck of a punch. Invasion could have revealed 1. We could have dealt 3 to the Nemesis. We would have taken 3. They still would have played Invasion of Regatha. We would have taken 4, but we would not have taken 5 because the 1 ping to the Nemesis. Of course, there's no way to tell that they had Invasion of Regatha in their hand, right? I wonder if that's a 1-of, or if they're like leaning into the invasion. 2 or 3, I could totally see if you're rocking all 4 Nemesis, especially. Yeah. Yeah, Boros Burn. Whew. Whew, that's going fast. And if you're not, like this deck list, we're not running life gain. But even if we were, we would have had a lot of trouble getting around that Nemesis on turn 3. Opponent goes first. We're going to keep this. It's not bad at all. I don't know how much we could have seen in that last one. I'm trying to think what lineup would have actually helped, but I don't think any lineup would have helped. So that's all very noteworthy when we are seeing a lot of Boros Burn. Really? More Squirming Emergence. Okay. Okay, well, we'll go right into Bitter Reunion. Without any ramp in hand, we're probably going to ditch the Steel Hellkite because we could ditch Mountain. If we miss land, then we're going to die. I should ditch the Hellkite. Yeah, so I think I'm glad that we kept the land in hand. We probably... Well, let's see what we draw. Bitter Triumph on the 1/1. Well, I'm not mad about it. Another Outcast. Alright. Invasion of Tarkir. I'll totally show my dragons to the opponent to deal 4. Play the Outcast. I don't mind that at all. Might do that again next turn if we don't play Decadent Dragon. However, okay, they go Wear Out onto our Bitter Triumph, founding the 3rd path onto... let's see what they got free. Will of the Forgotten bounces the Outcast probably. They don't, which means we have a chance of flipping the invasion this turn, which is huge news. Which I think that's what we actually do, right? Invasion. Reveal 2. 4 damage. Swing with Outcast. That's great news, man. That's good. Having the Thunder Mod down and ready. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone's game for sure. Because we don't know when their Squirming Emergence is going to do the thing. Oh no, Portal to Phyrexia. Founding the 3rd path out of their hand, guys. They're going to play Squirming Emergence, bring back Portal, wipe our board. At that point, Portal is going to start reanimating. We don't have too much in the grave right now. So probably Dragonhawk for the turn, right? Bonehoard Dracosaur does the thing if we survive, but Dragonhawk does the thing if we attack. We have to survive an attack for the Dragonhawk. One with the multiverse in the opponent's grave. Portal bringing back creatures. Alright, it's probably Dragonhawk. I think we're in a lot of danger. That's a very early portal. Actually, not too early, I guess, right? That was their turn 5. The second founding the third path, realistically, it only saved them from one swing for the turn. They take our Steel Hellkite, which was the discard earlier. Oh, I wasn't even thinking about that. They're going to bounce our Dragonhawk to hand. Holy cow, dude. Holy cow. We're going to ditch the Decadent Dragon, even though the treasure would be pretty huge for us. We're in danger. Our 5-drops are going to be reanimated by the portal. There's a reason we're seeing a lot of Squirming Emergence. Squirming Emergence has so many ways, this deck list, I mean, has so many ways to plug so much early on into the grave, so many cards that self-mill, that it just, oh, they have the World Spell in here. It's just like too much value, you know? And really, really hard to get around. Hey, there's an orb. There we go. But they're going to bring Decadent Dragon back because they don't have anything fancy in their grave right now to bring back with Portal. We could consider haste, or we could just consider seeing more off the top with Dragonhawk and see how that works for the turn. They're founding the third paths are finally gone. Alright, it's probably just Dragonhawk. The orb would have been much, much better earlier, of course, right? But even so... Slagstorm, huh. Opponent's down to 11. We do have to be a little bit cautious. Dracosaur might have been the play, guys. Dracosaur might have been the play because of the first strike, and we could first strike the Hellkite. Now it's just a trade, or Hellkite gets through, they can pay X is 5 and clean up our Dragonhawk anyways. So that's very, very noteworthy, man. Dracosaur might have been the play. Oh, they found spot removal anyways, so... Okay, and they go for the discard. Discard on Velgavoth. Oh, no. Oh, no, guys. Burst Lightning. Right. Well, Velgavoth is going to be reanimated by the portal next turn. So, I think that's that. I mean, we'll play Dracosaur, though. We'll see. I don't think we're going to get around this Velgavoth at all. If they missed Velgavoth, maybe. Maybe. They get the Dragonhawk back, though. They're not even concerned about the Velgavoth. Actually, they got so much mana. That's our Outcast, so they get the 5/5 at the beginning of their upkeep, too. World Spell. Oh, World Spell. They got the Velgavoth anyways. Wait, was that in their hand? Up to 2 non-saga permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Huh. They do go for the swing with the Hellkite, so I will block there. Because of the first strike, right? And then they're going to be pinging us. See a little bit off the top. We see some mana. And that is that, isn't it? We can play a mountain. We can play the orb, or we could just deal 4 damage to the opponent's face, too. Either way, Velgavoth gains them a whole bunch of life. So I guess just waiting on the orb makes a little bit of sense, right? We're going to be forced to chump the Velgavoth. They get to bring back... They're going to bring back the Decadent Dragon this time. They get another 5/5. We're letting them play this out, guys, because that's a pretty fun board state. Founding the third path off the top, the opponent has not missed this game. I wonder what they want to hit out of the grave here. Bitter Triumph. They're going to take the 3. Which is actually relatively risky, right? Yeah. We're totally going to go Burst Lightning, bring them down to 4 for the game. Because that's pretty fun, too. They get to see 5 off the top. There's another Squirming Emergence, Bitter Triumph. It looks so consistent, doesn't it? It really does. So let's go for kicking to their face. And they're down to 4. I think this was anyone's game, guys. I really do. We'll block the Archaeologist there. We'll block the 0-3. Of course, the better block would be trading into Outcast, but it doesn't really matter there. GG opponent. Something else, huh? We're 35 minutes in. Holy cow. Guys, did I bring this up yet? Did I bring it up? And we got in the description Discord link and Patreon link too, if you're interested in joining either of those up or supporting the channel that way. I always forget if I bring it up because I try to bring it up in every video. So when I record multiple videos in the same day, I'm like, was that last video or was that earlier in this video? I forget. But anyways, also the YouTube nonsense, guys. If you like the video, make sure you drop it a like. And if you enjoy the channel, then consider subscribing as well, because it really does help out the channel. When you're subscribed, of course, you'll see more of my videos in your YouTube feed. And that's one of the reasons why it really helps the channel too. Opponent goes first. We're going to keep this. One of the best hands of the evening. And a great hand to showcase why we have 25 mana in here too. Heartfire Hero. Let's see what Outcast does. We see our third in time, which is great news. We could have seen it next turn too and been pretty happy about it. I mean, I'll take the hero trade all day. And then we can clean up the challenger with the invasion, which is great news. I'm actually not going to reveal anything since we're hitting a creature and they're tapped out. Submit 0, 2 damage to the challenger. Get it out of here. Then turn 3 orb into any of our top end is actually really good. If we can survive a couple turns. So spear. So probably Dragonhawk, so we can try to swing at the invasion to flip the Thundermaw, because we'll probably need the blocker. That's all we can do for the turn, guys. This would have been a great time to have our 1 mana Burst Lightning, right? With the open with the orb. Opponent has a free-for-all. Sheltered by ghosts. No! Crap. It really is that simple sometimes. Double strike. Going back up to 24. We're going down to 10. We have Koth to try to clean up the mouse. No, we don't. Ward 2, guys. Koth cleans up Swiss Spear. Another orb off the top isn't bad. If we don't clean up something, we're dead. Right? Double strike to the Manifold Mountain. We could die anyways. We could die either way. Even if we clean up the Swiss Spear. The ward is a little bit too brutal right now, guys. We're just going for it. Go. Orb of Dragonkind. Let's see if we survive the turn, huh? Oh no, I can't believe it really is going to be that simple though, probably, right? Pretty brutal. Double strike. Swing. Are we alive? Down to 5? I can't believe it, guys. Heartfire Hero. That's terrible news, though. Twinflame Tyrant. All right, now we're gonna die, but we still have a pretty awesome swing here. And we can swing into the invasion. See one off the top. Some of our early removal would have been pretty grand here. And of course, our early board wipes, too, would have been pretty grand as well. So we have the option. We could keep Dragonhawk back as a blocker, or we can keep Thundermaw back as a blocker. And so that's what we do, of course, right? Even so, Mountain off the top again. More early removal. And then look at how explosive next turn is. Next turn, I think we'd have lethal with the Thundermaw and the Twinflame Tyrant. Unfortunately, all that really matters is the opponent has lethal this turn. Unless they don't. No, they do. They do no matter what, right? Because it's going to be 2 from the death. The Heartfire Hero death. So even if we block, they have 5 going through if we block the mouse, and they have 5 going through if we block the Heartfire hero. Ah, GG opponent. Crap, guys, crap. I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. More survival early. Wow, they actually have Shard Mage's Rescue too. So it's going to be extra damage from the Heartfire hero death. We also had Koth to consider. 40 minutes in, guys. We can end now, talk about the deck list, or we can push it a little over time and try to end on a high note. I had high expectations going in. I don't know. I don't know if we can end on a high note, but I'm hoping, right? I'm hoping, and I feel that the deck list, to my surprise, isn't controlling enough at the beginning. See, Slagstorm would have been huge in that last game. We got 3 of them in here for a very good reason. We go first, but no ramp, no early removal. Do we mulligan this? No, because we actually have the Slagstorm this time. If we go up against a similar deck list or a creature build, then Slagstorm really matters. I don't know, man. Tough decisions. Tough decisions. I do know one thing. I have a lot to say about the deck list at the end, but overall, I'm kind of leaning towards more testing required. So yeah, a big thing here is too, right? Mono red just might not be where we want to see dragons, and if we go like Rakdos or Grixis or something, we have access to a lot of great spot removal. All right, nothing from the opponent. We did go first here, so 3rd mana comes down. I can only imagine it's going to be some spot removal. It's not going to stop me. Let's see if Decadent Dragon survives the turn. Yeah, and against that last game, great example as to why we have all 4 Burst Lightning, everything like that, anything early on. Could hit opponent's face for 4, or we could just play the Tyrant and let them spot remove it again. Let's get the Tyrant down. At least we have 2 of them, right? And again, even if we saw the orb this game, it still wouldn't have been doing too much for us, as instant speed spot removal would be taking out our hasty creatures anyways. The big thing it would have been doing is actually ramping us, which is actually a pretty big thing. All right. 5th mana from the opponent. It's a duress. That's brutal, man. I think it's Invasion. Invasion gives us late value once we establish a board state, and it also does a similar thing to the other burn cards in hand. Bitter Reunion. I'm not mad about that. I think I'll trade out the Slagstorm. Based on what we've seen from the opponent so far, I guess it's not going to do too much here. Bitter Reunion. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Okay. No reason to hold that mountain back, I would say. 6 mana on the board. We have a chance of going Tyrant and giving it haste, or Decadent Dragon might be a better decision. We got 3 cards remaining in hand. We have to expect more spot removal. Hellkite gets around to go for the throat, which is not bad. However, we can't give it haste. That being said, that's probably still what we do. Literally just to play around to go for the throat. If it's another Get Lost, I guess that's fine. Another Get Lost means more map tokens for us. If it's nothing, it means Twinflame Tyrant has a potential of coming down next turn and doing some serious damage. If we see it open mana off the top, Twinflame Tyrant, give haste with the Bitter Reunion, Burst Lightning. We'll do 4 damage for just 1 mana, and then we'd have 5, 5, and a 3 swinging through. So an extra 16 damage there. Day of Judgment for 1 creature. Wow. I mean, they know we have the Twinflame Tyrant, so I guess it makes sense. Clean it up. Clean it up while they can. We stick to the plan with the haste, though, right? Burst Lightning deals 4, or we could go for the map. If we go map, it'll deal an extra 2. That's probably fine, because if we see land, then we can play land. Incinerator. I'll keep it on top. Any creatures. I'm going to keep any creatures on top. 8 damage is pretty darn good, man. If we saw mana... Hold on, did I already play a land that turn? Well, either way, using the map token is still pretty good, man. Sunfall. At least they're just 1-for-1s right now. All right. Incinerator. Maybe. Okay, Incinerator. Give haste, swing. It hasn't been spot removal, guys. If we go Decadent Dragon, haste, treasure, no. No, we have to maximize the damage while we can. So Incinerator is the play, probably. Haste. In the Bitter Reunion, we will no longer have haste for our creatures until we see an orb, but realistically, I don't think we want to see an orb right now. Opponent's down to 6. There's no reason to actually collect evidence as they don't have any creatures here, so we decline and keep the stuff in our grave for another time. Power up the Incubator with the 2 mana. They got 2 cards in hand. Anyone's game, guys. The opponent is playing spot removal and board wipes. As far as we know, that's all they have. No way. They go back up to 8 here, then they drop the Day of Judgment. The Day of Judgment must have been the top deck, because otherwise they wouldn't have powered up the Incubator token. Dude. Okay. So first of all, I guess we go Decadent Dragon. They know we have Burst Lightning too, so they did the right thing there by gaining life. Slagstorm, we just keep it on top because it's extra burn. Let's see what they top deck. It's mana, which means Virtue of Persistence comes down, which means it's game. All right, guys, we got there. Ending on a high note feels good. It's a lot of removal, a lot of things to get around there. Oh, I accidentally clicked through it. I was going to look through their grave again, but you guys saw everything that they played. A lot of removal, board wipes, 2 Day of Judgments, Sunfall. Luckily, we weren't going wide, so they weren't devastating. It was just a lot of 1-for-1s, and the opponent kind of made sense to do those 1-for-1s because our top end is heavy duty. Here's the deck list again. What on earth, man? I'll tell you what, if we sit down and we play like another 5 games or however many we played today, I think all the games could be completely different. I think we could lean it into victories and actually have over a 50% win rate. But I'm not sure. It's going to be like more testing required. You look at the deck list and it's like a very pleasing curve, a very pleasing mid-range curve with early ramp with the Orb and the Irencrag, and you're ramping up that way. Irencrag, by the way, don't overlook the bottom ability when you play a legendary. You can have this turn into an equipment, equip 3, equipped creature gets +3/+3, right? You don't want to overlook that when we do have legendaries on the top end with Dragonhawk. So there are going to be some games, honestly, where you just see too much mana anyways, turn the Irencrag into equipment. And again, you have so much mana anyways, you just slap that equipment onto one of your flyers, putting +3/+3 onto a Twinflame Tyrant or something, right? Sounds pretty darn good. Really like the double Twinflame Tyrant, even though it's only 3 power, so it doesn't work with the Dragonhawk ability. It's totally fine if your only creature with power 4 or greater is Dragonhawk. Totally fine. Even though it doesn't work with the Dragonhawk ability, it definitely works with the bottom ability where it's dealing the 2 damage for each of the cards that you didn't play anyways, which would get doubled from the Tyrant anyways, right? So I like our lineup. Actually, I really like our Dragon lineup. I would have liked to see Decadent Dragon do a little bit more, but when I was talking about Incinerator, flying trample 6/6, I said that trample is actually really important for flyers because there's so many cards with reach. That being said, too, there's a lot of creatures with flyers, too. Or with flying, I mean, trampling over a deep cavern bat feels pretty good. And that's a similar concept to Decadent Dragon, just flying trample. Like, you look at flying and you're like, well, it already has evasion. Why does it need the trample? That's why, right? Deep Cavern Bat and other cards like that, and a lot of cards with reach too, that we've been running into recently. I like the Steel Hellkite. I like that it gets around those go for the throats. I think that the more we play, again, this one of is actually going to be pretty important. When we are playing a mid-range deck list like this, having these one-ofs makes a lot of sense. And when you are playing mid-range, you end up seeing a lot more of your one-ofs anyways. And so just like more utility. Like, here's an example too. When you're playing Dragonhawk, since it's legendary, if it wasn't, we just have 4 of these, right? But it is legendary. So our 4th is the Bonehoard Dracosaur. We opt for Dracosaur because it helps us see more off the top, and there's not too much card draw in here. Bitter Reunion is kind of sort of card draw, but realistically, it's just trading itself out and trading out one of its other cards in hand too, which is actually really good too. When we have 25 mana, trade some of that out if you're flooding, or if you need to see more of the mana, maybe trade out a Slagstorm if it's not hitting anything that the opponent has. If Slagstorm isn't hitting anything that the opponent has, then the deck list has proven that it does know how to get a hefty chunk of damage through in that mid game. And so you can just use that bottom ability, deal 3 damage to each player, right? So, and again, that pairing beautifully with Twinflame Tyrant, that's really, really cool, right? So, wow. I'm looking at the deck list like I'm in love with this style of deck list, and I love dragons, and of course I love big red. But it had a rough time today, and we have to take all of that into consideration. But it's like I said, if we played more matches, I'm leaning towards it would be fine. Maybe Koth isn't the choice for the deck list. That's something to consider. If you drop the Koth, then maybe Outcast becomes a little weaker, but probably not, because you'll probably still find the mana you need. If you drop Koth, maybe a 3rd Bitter Reunion could be good, but honestly, bro, you probably just need more removal. More removal would probably go a long way. I could see dropping down to 3 Carnelian Orbs and going up that 3rd Bitter Reunion too. If you're not giving haste on the Dragonkind, at least you're giving haste on the Bitter Reunion, right? So that's something to be said. The reason that we have 4 of those still is because on turn 3, it's not a wasted turn, especially if you have Burst Lightning or another 1-drop in hand, which we actually have in here. And mid-range deck lists don't usually do that. When you're rocking the ramp, you got mid-range. Sometimes it's mana fixing ramp and then keeping a cut down open. And so you rock 3 cut downs in that mid-range deck list. In this deck list, it's just burn. So it's Burst Lightning. And Burst Lightning kicker cost we saw in that last game too was going to really come in handy there, dealing an extra 4 damage. Or not an extra 4, but 4 damage total, with that paired with the swing with the Decadent Dragon, which was a 5/5 at that time too. I forget what the opponent was at right now. But either way, the kicker cost is going to come in handy. It's a perfect pick for a mid-range deck list like this, I would say, that actually cares about dealing damage to the opponent's face too. Similar concept to the Invasion of Tarkir. Now, there's a card, right? Maybe we just need more big burn early on too, so maybe we want to opt for something like Obliterating Bolt. It's a little bit slow, sorcery speed, but 4 damage and an exile could really come in handy against a Heartfire hero. So there's, bro, I could talk for another 20 minutes about this, honestly. So there's a lot of things to consider, right? We like that early ramp, but like sometimes too much ramp is a little bit you're going to die anyways, right? You're ramping, and the opponent already counted to 20. But it's not like a dedicated ramp list anyways. So that's tough. That's tough to say too. If we would have seen things in a little bit of a better order, and that's another reason to have even more Bitter Reunions as you try to fix that order. Okay. Let's do this. Let's change it up just a little bit, okay? We're going to try to help the deck list compete with what we saw today, and we're going to stick to the dragon theme. I said Obliterating Bolt was a little slow. Well, we'll just opt for instant speed instead. Scorching Dragonfire. 3 damage to creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. Fits the dragon theme. Go up a couple of Scorching Dragonfires. Now let's figure out exactly what we want to drop here then for the couple Scorching Dragonfires. And this is specifically for what we saw today, right? Just hitting early creatures is very important. There's going to be moments where Invasion of Tarkir is actually just missing. You're missing because there's not that many dragons. There's enough dragons where you you could probably reveal one, but there's going to be games where you actually can't reveal one, which is a problem for sure. And of course, we still want something that hits the opponent's face too. So I think how we're going to arrange this, we're going to have some 3-ofs, man. Going to have some 3-ofs and be happy about it. And I think that actually works out nicely. Because now we have 6 ways to give our dragons haste. We're going down some ramps and just opting... Wait. I miscounted. We still have 61 out of 60 in the mana base. Dropping a Koth, right? Because late game removal or early game removal, it's got to be early game. We have to survive. If you're missing a creature, it's the same concept as the Slagstorm. Drop it with the Bitter Reunion. And Slagstorm too, you don't got to drop it. You could also just save that to hit the opponent's face when it comes time. How you guys feel about that? That's a big change. We changed a lot here at the end. We dropped an orb, dropped an invasion, went up a Bitter Reunion, went up 2 Scorching Dragonfires, and dropped a Koth. So we dropped a rare and dropped a mythic and went up some commons and uncommons. So, actually, Bitter Reunion is also common. So we dropped a rare and a mythic and went up 2 commons. Yeah. I don't mind it. I don't. I think it's fine. Now, something else too. I guess technically we dropped an orb to go up a Bitter Reunion. Because you could still have 2 Bitter Reunions and 4 orbs. It's just kind of, it's how it felt today, right? I think orb is usually going to be pretty great. I think it, in like mono red too, though, it's tough. It's tough. Like, this is really tough, man. Something needed changed. I think that change makes a lot of sense. You guys let me know in the comments for sure. And this can be your spot removal of choice, by the way. Maybe you're up against a lot of artifacts for some reason. A braid is pretty good. So you could rock a couple of braids. Dragonfire, the Exile, hitting Heartfire Hero is going to be pretty huge. And just having more early spot removal. I like it. All right, guys, enough rambling, huh? Let me know what you thought of the deck list in the comments. You guys think we got a little unlucky today, or do you think that it's just mono red dragons and we need to think of something different? That's possible too. I friggin' love dragons, so expect more dragons anyways, but let me know what kind of dragons you guys want to see in the comments, and maybe I'll add that to the list and visit that first. Also, yeah, never mind. No, I really like our list of dragons that I chose this time round too. Maybe the deck list can perform a little better with those small changes. And then with going down a Koth, we could also consider more caverns too. So, okay, now actually enough rambling. We're almost an hour in. So if you guys made it this far into the video for real, y'all are champions. I super duper appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.